Oh, hi. Hi. Hey, my fantastic friends, my wonderful Revit family out there. All right. Today we've got a Revit tip for you. I obviously need more coffee. Okay. Today's Revit tip comes to you because I've had a couple of requests for people asking me if I can show how to make a detail component that's got parameters in it, okay? Like an instance parameter and a type parameters. And what I want to show you guys is even deeper level of how to set up types even before you start using the family. All right, so what we're going to do is something fairly useful as a detail component are the little dimensional lumber, like a 2x4, 2x6, 2x10, 2x8, all those pieces, and one that's flexible, that's a piece of wood that you can stick in as a shim, that you can stick in under the sill plate when you have an odd dimension, okay? So let's go there. Let's make that detail component right now. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen with you. And guess what? I don't even have Revit turned on. What a silly goose. I should have turned on Revit before I started this Revit tip. Okay, so while we're waiting for Revit to come on, my bad. So here we go. What I want to do is, okay, you can make these pieces in Revit. Hey, it's coming on pretty fast. You can make these pieces in Revit and you put them into your template, your office template, and use them over and over and over for every single project that you're working with, okay? So I'm gonna show you this one time. I use them all the time. You probably see them in some of my details or some of my work. And now they're yours because I'm gonna show you how to make them right now. Okay, so here we go. Revit is on. And I'm going to say new, okay? New, okay. And new project, and it's opening up my template that already has some stuff in it, but we're not going to use my stuff. We're going to go from scratch. Okay, scratch. And we are going to get there eventually. There we go. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. I am going to go to my plan view here. And here's our little building that we love so much. Okay, let's just suppose this exterior wall is, I'm just going to select it, and it's steel studs right now, 6-inch steel studs, but I'm going to change it to 6-inch wooden studs, okay? Bam, ready and done. Wood studs, 2x6s. And these interior walls are like, they are, whoop, there we go. Come on, pick it, Mike. Got it. They are steel studs as well, 3 5/8 inch steel studs, but I'm going to turn them into 2x4 wood studs. Okay, so now that I've got wood in here, suppose I wanted to, sometimes people like to show the framing of where the studs are inside the wall. And some people also, let's go to a section. Here's a section. Some people like to, in a section, show, and I think it's valuable, to show the sill plates and show the beam that is carrying the end of this joist, and also the top plate. So some of these pieces and parts are, they're visual jazz is what they are. The true geometry is here in Revit, but on our sections, we put two-dimensional, flat embellishments, if you will, visual jazz that helps the contractor to know where things are. Even though we're not going to actually in 3D put in the sill plate or the double top plate, we want to show that intersections. You guys with me? Okay, so here we go. Here's how you would build one of those. File, and I'm going to hover over new and pick family. Okay, la-da-dee-da-dee. And what we want is, we're going to come down here to, you guessed it, detail item. Because this is all these other ones make 3D objects, most everyone except for detail, and profiles. But, okay, detail item, open. So when this thing opens, what we've got here is the template for building a detail, and it's just flat world. We're looking at top down. Okay, to make this a flexible 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, what we're going to do, is I'm going to say file. I'm going to put in a reference plane, and I want you guys to put a reference plane in vertically here, and then I want to put one in horizontally. This little box that we created right there inside the reference planes is going to be what flexes our detail item, okay? I'm going to put a dimension, DI, on the keyboard. I'm going to put a dimension across that one for the width, okay? And what I'm going to do is click on it, and I'm going to try to give it a label. Now I'm going to put my face down here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. This label, if I can't put a label on it because there's no labels in this family yet. So I have to create a new label or a new parameter to assign this for length. So I'm going to hit this little button right here, okay? And what we've got here is I'm going to make this parameter length, and I'm going to leave it as a type parameter, okay? You with me? And what I'm going to do is hit OK. So it has assigned length to this guy right here. And if I went to my little, the little ice cubes, the little family types, if I have, let me just shrink this down a little bit so you can see what's going on, okay? If I change this length to like 1 foot, okay, and hit apply, you see that? It flexed down to 1 foot. So it's working. And I can take it down to 4 inches, apply, and it's working perfectly fine, okay? That's our length. Now the width of this thing, and I'm going to put another dimension on this one, and I'm going to pick that, and I don't want to assign it length also. I want to make a new one and call it width, W-I-D-T-H, width, and leave it a type parameter. So I'm going to say, okay, so you can see that one's width. So if I change that one to like 2 inches, bam, you can see that I've got this little tiny square down here, and we're going to bring these down so we can work with them, okay? Wait, there. Okay, bring it down and bring it over here. Where's that? You know what? You hover over something, and all I'm looking for is the move command. Move. Okay, just use the arrows, Mike. Okay, and I don't like 1/2 inch scale, so I'm going to be working at 1.5. So here's what we're dealing with, okay? It's so funny that I can't even move it. There we go, I can move it. Okay, whew. Okay, we've got our length and our width, 2 inches by 4 inches. And what I'm going to do is put in our detail component in here. This is just the framework for this thing. The actual detail component hasn't been drawn yet. So here's how you draw it. I'm going to hit create. I'm going to hit masking region. That way it masks anything back in my project that I want to cover up. Masking region, I'm just going to use a rectangle. I'm going to go from this intersection down here to this intersection right there, okay? And that right there, my friends, is our detail component ready to work, okay? Now, oftentimes there is an X through these pieces of wood so that you can see them, okay? Because it's a continuous piece of wood, and that's just how we show it in architecture. So to get an X in here, I'm going to go to create, but this time a line, okay? And now I'm going to switch the subcategory to little light lines because I want it to be a little tiny light line. Now, if you've ever had trouble with lines falling behind when things flex larger and they're not staying on the corner, I'll show you the fix to that. We need to attach to the intersection of the reference planes to stop that breakaway from happening. We want it to track with it. So if I want this line to start at the intersection here, it's hard to know whether it's getting the intersection, right? That's why we use snaps. At the keyboard, I can hit SI, which stands for snap intersection. And now when I get near that intersection, look at that. It highlights it and finds it. And I start my line. And then I type SI again, and I get this opposite corner. Click. So this line that I've drawn now is locked to the reference planes. and it's not dependent on any of the geometry that's here. It will flex, okay? And let's put another line in. So create another line, SI for snap intersection, and whoops, SI, click, okay? So now we've got a little X on there. So let's test it, okay? We're gonna open up our family types. I'm gonna actually move this over a little bit so you can see it. Okay, I'm gonna check the family types width. Too far, Mike, there we go. Okay, the length, let's change that to 6 inches. Apply, bam. Did you see that? Did you even see that? It just worked. And if I make it 3/4 of an inch thick, apply, bam. See, okay, so the X is flexing with it. This thing is ready for us to set up the types now. Okay, now, if I set this to 4 inches and 2 inches to make it a 2x4, I know there's somebody out there that's going to say, guess what? 2x4s are not actually 2x4. And I know that. In fact, let me just show you something. How do I get to this? I'm going to go to desktop, and I'm going to open up this dimensional lumber. I've got a little picture that I want to show you guys, okay? And I'm going to show it to you right now. Look at this little chart that I've got. 2x4s are actually only 1.5 inches wide. So are 2x6s, look, 2x8s, 10s, 12s, they're all 1.5 inches wide. The lumber company is actually saving tons of money this way by selling us something that's only 3/4 the size we paid for. Oh, ouch. Did I say that out loud? Yes. Okay, but let's look at the other dimension. Back in the day, do you know that 2x4s actually used to be 2x4s? 2x6. I went up in the attic of an old house that I used to own, and those pieces of lumber were exact 2x8s for the roofing. It was fantastic. And sharp edges too. They didn't round off the corners. It was fantastic wood. But these days, this is what we're going to deal with. 1.5 inches wide for all of them. But look at the lengths. When it's a 2x4, it is 3.5 inches wide. Okay, 3.5. Remember this. 2x6 is 5.5. But when you get above the 2x6, it jumps. It's not a 7.5. It's 7.25. Okay. 2x10 is 9.25, and 2x12, 11.25. So remember these, because we're going to come back to them. So we want a 2x4. So the width is 1.5 inches, okay? And the length is 3.5 inches. All right. Now you'll notice up here that there's no types yet. I want to build the types so that this thing flexes when I say I want a 2x4. I want it to flex to the size of a 2x4. So I've got the dimensions here. And if I hit new type button right there, and I just tell this, look at this, I'm gonna put it right there for you so you see it. It's a 2x4, okay? So I just told it these dimensions equal a 2x4. If I hit new, it says, what do you want to call this? I'm gonna call it a 2x6. The 1.5 is already there. And so I am going to make this 5.5 for a 2x6, okay? And you can check back and check the other one. Look at this. On this drop down, the 2x4, here's the dimensions. And when I go to 2x6, the dimensions are updated. See, it's setting the types and the dimensions that go with those types. So let's just quickly make the rest of them. Bam. This is going to be a 2x8, okay? And the dimension is 7.25. You're with me? And then we need a 2x10. Okay. And that's 9.25. And then one more. And this is a 2x12. And it is 11.25. We just set up all the types to be used back in the project, just like that. Because they're all here now. See, they're all listed. And if we pick on one and say apply, it changes the main one back here in the project. See that? And so let me get my face out of the way. I'm going to pick the 2x4, okay? And wait for it. I'm going to hit apply. Boom. It changes it, okay? So now we know it works. So we're going to load it. I'm going to save it. Save. I'm going to save it on my desktop. I'm going to call this, okay, wait for it. This is going to be called 2x dimensional lumber, okay? 2x, 2x dimensional lumber. Save. Okay, saved it. I'm going to load it into my project and close it. Okay, now when it comes into my project, okay, let's just go to that section. And let's just say we want to use some of these pieces here for this section. I'm going to go down to my families. I'm going to scroll down to detail items. These are the two-dimensional things. I'm going to expand that. And I'm going to look down for 2 by, I know there's a, there it is, 2x, 2 by dimensional lumber. And when I expand that, look, 2 by 4, 2 by 6, 8, 10, 12, they're all there. Okay. So this is a 2 by 6 wall. So I need a 2 by 6. So I'm just going to highlight, I'm going to drag it out. And look at that, it's on my cursor. It's ready to use. So I use my space bar if I want to rotate it. See that thing spinning? Okay, when I get it to the orientation that I want, space bar rotates it. I can put it right there and it snaps into place. You guys see that? Okay. And let's just say I want a double head plate here, you know, head. So I'm going to, instead of that, that's a sill plate. This would be a header on this one. So I'm going to go rotate it around so I can snap it right there. If you place it in the wrong place, let me just say, oh, whoops. Oh, I placed it right there. Oh, that's not where it goes. You can drag it over and it will snap into place. It snaps when it comes against other objects. You can also use a line and lock if you want to. Okay. So this is, if I highlight it, take a look. It's a 2 by 10 floor joist. So what I need is a 10. So 2 by 10, I drag a 2 by 10 out and it's in the wrong orientation. No worries, space bar. Okay, you rotate it and then bam, it snaps into place. You see what I'm talking about? This is how you get this lumber in here quickly and easily. We just made a dimensional lumber it's two-dimensional, but it's also flexible, and we used type parameters. Now, let's go to make one that is a flexible piece. It's like an adjustable piece of wood blocking that you could put in any situation, okay? Like a shim or a sill plate or something that's odd. In this view, we got something that's odd. I'm going to put a dimension right here and we're going to look at it, okay? From that back of that brick, that airspace right there. You see that airspace? It's 1 and 7. Oops, clicked on something else. Let me get rid of that. DI on the keyboard. And pick the airspace, Mike. There it is. Okay, 1 and 7/8. You with me? It's 1 and 7/8 inside right there. Undo. I'm going to pull this dimension out here so you guys can see it better. Okay, look at this. It's 1 and 7/8 for that airspace. This detail component is 1.5 inches wide, and it won't fit in there correctly. And I want something that works every time for any thickness. And I need wood blocking inside this wall so that I can have something to anchor this. I'm just suppose you need some wood blocking in there to anchor this little roofing element too. Okay, so here we go. We're going to make a new component, very similar, but instead of type parameters, we're going to use instance parameters. So here we go. File, hover over new, and click family. We're going back here. Wait for it. You know, detail item template. Say okay. Open. Very similar. In fact, it's exactly the same, not just similar. Okay. Sip coffee. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Put in a reference plane. I put one in vertically over here, one horizontally. Put the dimensions in from this one over to here. When I highlight this dimension, that's when I can give it a label. And of course, there's none built in. So I hit a new parameter, create a parameter. Now look at this. This is my width, but I'm switching it to an instance parameter. Work with me. Say okay. Okay. So this width is completely different than the old one. This is an instance parameter. That means every single one of these little blockings that I place can be a different width quickly and easily with shape handles to drag it. So let me, oh, that was supposed to be the length. So I can rename it. See that? I can highlight it right here and go down to edit. And whoops, that was supposed to be length. See, you can change these things. Okay, now that's length. Now let me add one. I'm going to put a dimension in from here up to here, And this one's going to be width. So I click on that, highlight it, and make a new one and call this one width. Instance parameter. Okay, instance parameter. So when I go to, I'm going to flex these down. I'm going to take this down to 1.5. And I'm going to take this down to a 2x4, just like a length, 4 inches. This 2 inches. It got really small, really fast. And I'm going to bring this down. I just want you to be able to see this stuff. That's why I'm moving it for you. There we go. All right, you with me? Now, all we have to do is put on the actual detail component now, which was create, masking region, use rectangle, snap to these intersections, and done. And then go create a line, switch it down to light lines. And remember the intersection, SI, snap intersection, SI, snap intersection. Okay, and then do another one. And here we go. Create a line, snap intersection, bam, snap intersection, bam. Okay, now this thing's ready to work. We got to test it. You've got to test it here in it before you take it to anywhere else. Just as a heads up for you guys, if it's an instance parameter, it's going to have the word default written right here under the next to the parameter. That means it's an instance parameter. If you had noticed, the other ones did not have that written because they were type parameters. That's one quick visual that you know if something's an instance or a type parameter. Okay, so if I change this to be, let's say 6 inches long, apply, and we check, yes, the X flexed. And we change this to 1 inch. Yes, it worked. Okay, so let's just give it a default. It needs a default that comes in every time. Let's just make it 2 inches by 6 inches. By default, it pops in at 2 by 6 every time, okay? Whatever. It doesn't matter because we're going to flex it anyway. So here it is. We hit save. And this time, we're going to name it ADJ for adjustable wood blocking, okay? Save. And we're going to load it into the project and close it. So I don't know why it doesn't let me use it. So look, instead of pulling a piece of dimensional lumber and using it in this 1 7/8 space, I'm going to come down here and there it is, ADJ, adjustable wood blocking. I expand it and I can grab this, the name underneath, you know, this, it's actually the type. Grab this out of there and there it is. It's 2 by 6 as a default. And when I place it, you guys can already see the shape handles, can't you? I can drag this thing to be any size piece of wood I want. It's great, isn't it? So I can drag the width and the length. So I'm going to drag this width and it snaps to where I want it and snaps, bam. It snaps in there just perfectly. You guys can use this on your sill plates. You can use it wherever you need wood blocking. And I just drag this to the length I need. I'm going to put a note to it later that says, wood blocking by others, and be done with it. It doesn't have to follow any dimensional properties like a 2 by 6, 2 by 10. It's just wood blocking, and they put in whatever they need that they have on the truck. All right. Anyway, isn't that great? Now I'm going to hit stop share, and wait a minute. I am going to stop share. I'm going to come back to you guys. I'm going to tell you. Now we've made these two components and you can make them and put them in your template. Stick them inside your template so you can use them on every single project. Also, what we just did was we made a type parameter and we made multiple types from it. And then we also used an instance parameter in a family. So I hope that helps you guys. You can use those skills in any detail component to make bolts longer, pieces of CMU flexible. Wouldn't that be useful? Anything like that. You can make your own detail components now and use either type parameters, if there are set types, or if you need something flexible, you can put an instance parameter. All right, that's enough for today. Until we meet again, my friends, happy Reviting. Bye-bye.